Hello and welcome back to the Body for Minds podcast. This is episode 70 conversations about body awareness, nervous systems, mental load, identity, motherhood, and increasingly leadership. And if you've been listening over the past few weeks already, you may have noticed a pattern. We've talked about mental load, about overriding yourself, about decision fatigue, and about living outwardly oriented. None of those conversations stand alone, and I'm really glad you're here and taking the time out of your day to tune in. There's a red thread running through them, and today we're making that thread explicit and professional, because all of those dynamics don't just affect your energy, they affect your leadership. They affect how you show up in meetings, whether you negotiate, whether you apply, whether you speak or stay quiet. And before we go further, I want to clarify something you may notice in this episode. You've heard me talk for a long time about self-connection and reconnection to yourself. In this episode, I'm using a slightly different word. Let me explain. It's self-contact, and that's intentional. Self-connection is nurtured and reflective. It's the relationship you build with yourself over time. Self-contact, on the other hand, is self-connection applied in real time. It's your ability to stay connected to yourself while something challenging is happening. So it's in the moment. Self-connection is cultivated. Self-contact is accessed under pressure. It's basically self-connection accessed under pressure in real-life moments. And leadership depends on that live version, so on self-contact. But the basis of self-contact is self-connection. So today we're talking about something many ambitious mothers quietly carry. The feeling that you've lost your confidence. Not dramatically, not in a way that alarms anyone from the outside, but internally, you hesitate more, you second-guess faster, you replay conversations you used to walk away from easily. And maybe the thought sounds like this. I used to be sharper. I used to walk into rooms differently. Maybe I peaked already. Maybe I just can't hold both anymore. Here's the reframe. You don't actually lack confidence. You lack self-contact. And for leaders, that distinction changes everything. From the outside, your life still looks competent. You're functioning. You're reliable. You're still the one people turn to. At work, you deliver. At home, you hold things together. From the outside, capable and composed. Inside, less solid. You speak and then question you overstepped. You consider a promotion and immediately calculate the cost. You think about negotiating and decide now is probably not the right time. There's a subtle dissonance here. From the outside, high performer. On the inside, recalculating constantly. And when ambitious women feel that gap, the conclusion is usually, I need to rebuild my confidence. But confidence is not the root layer. Confidence is a visible expression of something deeper. Unless it's performative confidence. But let me get to that later. And if we try to fix visible confidence without restoring internal contact, it will always feel fragile. Let's dive a bit deeper into this. There are two types of confidence: performance or performative confidence and identity confidence. Performance confidence grows through results. There's an effort. The effort yields an outcome, and the outcome yields reinforcement. And then the cycle starts again. Before motherhood, many high-achieving women had a stable performance loop. You worked hard, you saw progress, you were rewarded. And that strengthened performance confidence. Then motherhood shifts the terrain. Your body changes, your sleep fragments, your time compresses, your nervous system baseline shifts, and your priorities naturally evolve also. And in some environments, or in many environments, assumptions shift too. About what you want from life now, whether that's Focusing on family or focusing on career, or how you're going to achieve both. So the feedback loop necessarily changes too. Not because you became less capable, but because the terrain changed. And here's where something subtle happens. Instead of recalibrating internally, you orient outward even more because of the shifted assumption you notice about yourself as a professional. And if you want to dive deeper into this part, I've got another podcast episode on that, which I'll link in the show notes. So you orient outward more. What does that look like? You think about what's expected, what's reasonable, what's realistic now, how much can I take on without destabilizing everything else? Outward orientation replaces inward calibration. And when that happens repeatedly, identity confidence erodes. Not because you lack skill, but because you no longer feel clearly anchored in yourself. And in that sense, self-contact is not abstract. It is real-time internal access. It means you can feel your internal stance while something external is happening. You know what you think before you scan the room for everybody else's mood. You know what you want before you calculate the cost. You sense misalignment before you override it. Self-contact is not dramatic. It's not a light bulb moment. It is steady. And leadership depends on it. Because strong leadership is not primarily about that visible confidence or performance and performative confidence. It's about steadiness under pressure. And steadiness requires contact. If you can feel clearly what matters, what doesn't, what you're available for, what you're no longer available for, you move differently. Not louder, not harsher, but grounded and with clarity. Let's make this more concrete with an example. Let's say you're in a strategic meeting and a direction is proposed that you know from your experience it will create downstream friction. And pre-motherhood, you would have probably just said it out loud immediately. Now, you pause. Just a second. And your system runs a cost analysis. Do I have the energy to defend this? Will this create more work? Is this battle worth it? Can I absorb the consequences at home? And by the time the internal scan is done, the moment has maybe passed. Later you think, why didn't I just say it? It's tempting to interpret that as lack of confidence. But what actually happened was this. Your system prioritized load management over internal alignment. That is not insecurity. That is depletion plus responsibility. And if this repeats, it slowly reshapes your professional identity. You begin to trust yourself less. Not because you lack competence, but because you repeatedly move without contact. Leadership without self-trust always feels unstable. When women sense this shift, they often try to solve it cognitively. More strategy, more mindset work, more leadership frameworks, but you cannot think your way into contact. Contact with yourself, right? Contact is not a cognitive function. It is a regulated state. It requires nervous system capacity, margin, internal quiet. Without those conditions, you default to mere efficiency. Efficiency keeps things moving, but efficiency does not create leadership clarity. Contact to yourself does. The real question then is not, how do I become more confident again? It's, have I maintained contact with myself as my life changed? Leadership development for mothers cannot look like leadership development for childless high performers. Motherhood changes the terrain. It changes your body, it changes your brain, all of the things that I mentioned before. And your capacity map is different. Not worse. It's not about you having a lack of capacity, right? That's really important. And your nervous system baseline is different. And that's okay. That's not a judgment. That's a statement. That's a fact. If you try to rebuild performance confidence without restoring contact, you will constantly feel like you are compensating. But when contact to yourself returns, you negotiate differently, you choose differently, you decline differently, you speak differently. Not because you are louder, but because you are aligned, because you trust yourself, because you know what you know and that what you say is founded in your experience, your expertise, and all the skills that you have on your side. And aligned leadership is a sustainable leadership. So this week, instead of asking, how do I rebuild my confidence? Ask, when was the last time I felt clearly in contact with myself in a professional setting? Not productive, not efficient, in contact. So when did I feel true to myself? And if it's been a while, don't turn that into self-critique. Turn it into data. Because nothing is wrong with you. Your system adapted to increased demand. Now the work is recalibration. Self-connection is nurtured over time. Self-contact is how that work shows up under pressure. Confidence, the grounded kind, follows. You don't need to become who you were before or who you thought you were going to be. You need access to who you are now, the post-motherhood version, the experienced version, the expanded version. She is not less powerful. If anything, she is more powerful. She just needs space to stay in contact with herself. And that is leadership work. If this episode resonated, share it with another ambitious mother who quietly wonders if she's lost her edge. She hasn't. She's been leading without margin. And if you want to go deeper into building self-connection that translates into self-contact in real time, that's exactly the work we do inside Body for Minds. More you, less noise. Until next time.